And the question was, you know, why don't you put some sort of mulch over the seeds, right, like that. So the answer is nuanced. If they're really tiny seeds, hey, it's Greg here with MaritimeGardening.com, and I thought I'd do a different sort of approach to the Q&A video this week. I thought I'd do it on a theme, and I do it out here in my garden and sort of speak to the questions I'm answering. I can't always do it like this because of weather and stuff like that, but tonight's certainly a perfect evening for doing this. So the first question was from, it was just a personal, sometimes people just email me questions. So the question was, why not cover seeds after sowing? So I'm going to show you here. I'm going to move the camera. I'm going to show you an example of what this person's talking about. All right, so assume this space, this is just my walking path here, but assume that this is a garden bed. And I've moved the mulch away. I actually do plant things in my walking paths. I usually plant beans and they grow really well. So imagine I moved the mulch away and I've sprinkled some seeds down here, and I've put a little bit of, you know, nice composted soil on top. You don't have to do that, but I like to do it. It just gives me extra confidence. And then the question was, you know, why don't you put some sort of mulch over the seeds, right, like that. So the answer is nuanced. If they're really tiny seeds, the concern would be that enough sun wouldn't get through to heat up the soil to cause germination. Right, so by putting something like this, depends on the time of year too. So let's just speak that in general. In the spring here where I live, it is like right now as I'm doing this video, it's 5 degrees Celsius, 5 degrees above freezing. So it's fairly cold, and I'm wishing I had a warmer hat on. So the big concern early in the year is there enough sun getting at your soil to warm it up enough to get germination happening? So this time of year I'd be apprehensive about putting something light colored like this is going to block the sun. Now if I had, and the other concern is just, can the seed get up through all of that? A larger seed for sure, like a bean or something like that. But anyway, let's just speak to small seeds first. I got a small seed here. I'd be concerned about the seed making it through this. It'd probably do okay, but I'd be concerned. So if number one, I would just leave it until I saw them, and once they were a certain height, I just move the mulch back, right, as I show many times. And I'm not the only one showing this. This isn't my invention, right? I learned this from watching other people. But let's say I wanted to, the advantage of having some mulch over this is you don't have to water as often, right? So if I did want to put some mulch over, what I would do is I take something like this. I like using seaweed because it's dark. So this time of the year, if I do put a mulch over seeds, I like using something dark because it attracts heat. But I'd take scissors and I'd cut this up. So it's really, really fine. You could even rub it in your hands like this. So I just put it on really fine. You know, enough to let a bit of sun and heat on the soil, but not enough to smother out the seeds, right? And but just enough to maybe hold some moisture in. So that's a small seed. And then maybe if you're really worried about it germinating, you can put some plastic over it like this until you see it coming up. If you're planting, and some people are where I live are planting beans right now, I'm a bit apprehensive about it. I'm going to wait another week or so before planting beans, I think. It's just so darn cold right now. But I like to do this with beans, especially if you're pushing it and planting them a bit early. I'd put about an inch of mulch. A bean will have no problem getting through an inch of something like this. And again, put some plastic over it. Again, remember, I live in sort of a northern part of the world, and I'm in zone 6A, but that doesn't mean a whole lot. We have spring comes on very slowly here, and there's people in zone 5 that have hotter conditions than here. My mom lives somewhere where it's zone 4, and it's actually, she's planting tomatoes right now outside, which I would be crazy to do that right now. But anyway, something like this will counteract. So this light color is not letting the heat through, but by virtue of having the plastic, you get a little microclimate, and that will heat the whole thing up anyway. And actually, because you've got a bit of insulation, right, this has got insulation value, it'll stay warm at night, right? It'll keep some of that heat in. So just a few thoughts on that general topic. You can cover your seeds after sowing, but you just bear all those things in mind. Also, if it's later in the growing season, like let's say August, and you're trying to do a fall crop, you're planting some spinach or lettuce in, let's say, the first week of August, well then heat is not a problem. You've got tons of heat that time of year. So the problem in August is your seeds drying out and the soil drying out, and you're not getting germination because the soil is dry. So in August, I would certainly put maybe a half of inch, and I've done this successfully, planting something, a fall crop. For me, that's lettuce or spinach. It's got to grow really fast. It's got to be ready to eat in like 30-40 days if it's a fall crop for me. I put about half an inch of some mulch like this on top, and that'll be just enough to keep, so you don't have to run out and water every single morning, right? It's just enough to keep a bit of sun off here, but you got plenty of heat to get germination. So for fall crop, absolutely. Or if you're somewhere, I mean, it's the middle of May right now. If you're somewhere where it's really warm and hot in the middle of May, for sure. But it's cold where I am right now. My hands are going to be numb in about an hour if I keep this up. All right, so that's the first question. The next question is from Lee Garner, and he says, I've been told to keep wood chips on top of your soil, not to till it in. What he understands is that the wood chips, if they're worked into the soil, will steal nutrients from the soil, and he asks if this is true. Everything I have read corroborates that claim. It's not that they steal nutrients, in particular nitrogen. It's not that they steal it, they borrow it. So you got a piece of wood, and there's a certain amount of nitrogen that's needed for that piece of wood to break down for various reasons. So that nitrogen is going to be found in your soil, and then once that wood breaks down completely, it's released back into your soil. So they kind of store it. So certainly, if you have an overabundance of nitrogen, they'll tie it up. If you've got just enough for your plants and you till a bunch of wood chips in, it will deplete that to some extent for a certain amount of time. And you could solve that problem by planting something that doesn't need a lot of nitrogen, like beans, right? But what I like to do is to just move them off to the side. What am I trying to say? I like to use wood chips on top of perennials, things that aren't in beds. You're not constantly moving the soil around. So something like strawberries, raspberries, asparagus, blueberries, apples, any sort of perennial where you're not working the soil at all every year, right? You're just adding mulches. I like to use wood chips for that. If that's all you've got and that's the kind of mulch you can use, you can still use it in the garden. You just have to be careful about how you work with that soil especially when you're harvesting and so on. So actually that leads nicely to the next question, which was from Bob Sacamano. He says wood chips, asking about using wood chips as a mulch for potatoes. I tend to use hay because I can get it easily. I can also get wood chips fairly easily, but I prefer hay for a number of reasons. He says, can you use wood chips to mulch potatoes? Yes, of course you can. But the catch is that, if you can see me here now, I got to move the camera down. We've got potatoes growing out. It's too early in the year for me to show you this, but let's just assume this is a garden bed. I mean, this is my walking path, but it's covered in wood chips. Let's say I had a whole bunch of potatoes growing here, and they're ready to be harvested. When your potatoes are ready to harvest, and you've mulched them with wood chips or anything like this, like a carrot or something, what I do is I sort of move the bulk of the wood chips aside. I've done this successfully before. So I mean, there's still some wood chips here in the soil, but these are the ones that have been in the soil quite a while, and they're well broken down. They've got a lot of nitrogen in them already, right? These ones aren't going to need any. These ones need nitrogen to break down. These ones, right, have lots of nitrogen in them already because they've been in the soil for a while, right? So I would move all that stuff aside and then dig up the potatoes. And once you get the potatoes out, just put it back. That's all you got to do. And that's what I've done for years, and it works. It's just, I find, especially if you're trying to build up soil quickly. If you're trying to build soil quickly, hay and seaweed break down a lot faster than wood chips, and they'll provide that kickstart to the soil. If you've got soil that's not that great and you want it to get really fertile really fast, use things like grass clippings, seaweed, straw, stuff like that, because they break down a lot faster than wood chips. Wood chips take a while to break down, especially if you live in a northern climate where everything's just frozen for a good portion of the winter. The next question is from Tom Taylor, and he asked, do you remove mulch off your garlic plants? And the answer to that is yes and no. So every year, early in the spring, when I'm anxious to see my garlic, that it made it, that it's been successful and that it's growing, I get a little bit twitchy waiting to see them poke up. And I get concerned that I put too much mulch on. So this bed to my right is actually a bed where I pulled a whole bunch of mulch off the bed in fear. There's clumps, you can see there's clumps of sod laying all over. This is like grass clippings. So I put some straw and leaves down when I planted these garlic, and then I put a whole bunch of grass clippings on top. My thinking was, oh, it's going to have a nice warm blanket for the winter. And then I got, grass clippings creates this almost wool-like texture that seems, kind of impenetrable, right? So I got all concerned that it was going to be detrimental to the garlic's ability to get through. So I scraped it all off and mucked around. And then once I saw them coming up just the other night, I sprinkled a little bit of hay back on top. But I decided to be smart this year, and in gardening, especially if you're a no-till gardener, a permaculture gardener, being smart means being lazy. So this bed over here, I just let it do its thing. Right? I just left it alone, didn't do nothing. Right? It looks like a total mess, and there's all this clumpy sods and stuff like that. And I'll bring the camera in closer so you can see. But everything worked out just fine. I didn't need to do anything over here. I should have just left it. So let me show you. Hey, I don't know what happened in that recording, but I messed the sound up for this section. But anyway, here's the bed on the left, and you can see this is where I pulled some of the mulch away and then put some mulch back. But you can see the garlic are coming up fine, and they're doing all right. And so if I'd done that in all my beds, I would have thought, hey, I'm so glad I did that. The garlic are doing fine. But if we look over here at the bed where I didn't do anything, and you can see it's all kind of clumpy and gnarly looking, and doesn't look that impressive. And you can see all the grass clippings that I laid down, big clumps of it and stuff. And it didn't seem to bother the garlic at all. I mean, I can't speak to every variety of garlic. These are music garlic. Oh, a little bit of shaky camera work there, sorry. Now, these are music garlic. They're well adapted to growing in cold climates, but they seem to have had no problem punching their way through, even in places where it's quite dense and quite thick. You see how the grass forms that almost cloth-like or fabric-like texture. But still, I mean, I guess there's a reason that garlic have a point, and I guess there's a lot of plants like that have a point when they come up, is so they can find their way through. Even right there where it's really thick, see how it just pushes its way through, and it looks really nice and strong and healthy too. So I think it certainly enjoyed growing there that winter. This is a hugelkultur bed, so deep down beneath all of this stuff there's rotten logs. But yeah, I definitely got to try to remember not to get so nervous next year. And I mean, it's kind of a dance I do with my garden every year, and I got to get out of that routine. Just leave it alone. And I observed that discipline with my strawberries this year, but once again I got nervous with my garlic instead of mucking around. I should have just left it all alone, because obviously it's fine. It's just fine. Just leave it alone, because when you mess around with your mulches and stuff like that, you really do encourage and increase the chance of more weed seeds germinating, that sort of thing. The last question was about ticks, and a viewer asked me, do you have ticks where you are, and are you worried about ticks? And yes, my property is within one of the zones in the province where I live that's been identified as a risk area for not just ticks but Lyme disease. It's a constant concern of mine. I don't really feel that the government has done anywhere near enough to protect the citizens from it. That's a whole nother topic, and I'm not going to get into it here, but my heart goes out to anyone that's in the agricultural or forestry industry, because they're at perpetual risk. And the general approach, the guidelines we're given as outdoors people is be careful And if you think you've got Lyme disease, see a doctor. That's not much of an intervention, in my opinion. Anyway, I'm not going to get into it here. Yes, I'm concerned about them, and yes, it's a problem here, and I'm kneeling in something that could be a tick haven, so I'm perpetually concerned about it. But I'm not going to talk about it too much in this video. I'm using this as an opportunity to plug my next podcast, which is coming up this Saturday or Sunday. I've got a professor from Mount Allison University in New Brunswick. Her name is Vet Lloyd, and she does research on ticks and Lyme disease, and that's her area of specialization. And we're going to talk everything ticks this weekend. So if you're interested in that, please stay tuned and get informed and throw your questions at me. Actually, if you've got any questions before that episode, throw them at me. Maybe I can ask Vet Lloyd, Dr. Vet Lloyd, if your questions. That would be wonderful if you could share those with me and see what I can do about that, okay? So if you enjoyed this video, please like, share, subscribe. Check out my podcast, maritimegardening.com, where I'm going to be talking about Lyme disease with Vet Lloyd this weekend. And until next time, get out there, get at it, have fun in your garden. Thanks for watching.